How was my week?
Yeah. You were like, you had your vacation, right? Like you had
Oh yeah. I was out of town for a couple of days. Yeah, we went down there Sunday. Got down there Sunday evening. Of course, daylight savings. It was dark. Bar hopped. Then Monday was fucking perfect, amazing. Sat out there, drank red. Tuesday
was like the weather
was
still good?
on Monday. It was. Tuesday was like 30-mile-an-hour winds as we're sitting there on the base. So I was like, let's go sit by the pool, and that
Tropical
was
storm
better.
was coming, right? That was
Yeah. And then we left Wednesday morning, and it's become like tradition. Like I usually leave like Wednesday, Thursday morning, like do a trip the same time every year to Tybee, and like just walk out on the pier, and it's just like got wind. So I got one good day of sun, like for a 3 day trip, 2.5 day trip. So
sorry, it's better than no good days of sun. I've definitely got
yeah,
before.
and like I bar hopped plenty, like, and then like there's a couple of different bars just like post up at and go ahead and play pool, watch sports, and then went to Savannah, walked River Street and stuff. So that was fun.
Okay, yeah, that's not too far. In Tybee. There's this little, I can't even remember what the name of it is. I'd have to message somebody to figure it out. There's this like hole in the wall place. Um, that's I want to say that it is right after you get back from Tybee, like onto the inland side off of the island. It's like little restaurant that does like Creole stuff. You get like gator here, you can get like shrimp stuff. So I'll have to figure it out and let you know. So next time you go.
Definitely, because I had plenty of seafood. I went to the Crab Shack, which I had not been to since I was a kid. It was fantastic, like just low country boiled stuff and crab legs. Yeah, I ate too much, drank too much. It's good times.
That's a normal weekend for the franchise though. So
And then walk back into the shit of work. That's
yeah. And then we just go back to our regular thing. Um,
jeez.
let's see. I so I'm still waiting. Allegedly, they'll be here on Thursday. I'm still waiting for anchors to show up so I can start doing dynamic effort method. That's phase two of the quest for 900. Now that I feel like I've peaked on my ability to deadlift, I've just like your body take a toll doing max effort lifts so many weeks.
I remembered why I don't deadlift after I deadlifted last week or the week before. Like my back's wrecked, and I've had two different physical therapists tell me not to deadlift because of my back.
Sorry, I encourage you to do this.
But it's just like fuck it, I'll do it. Like I've been doing like some rack pulls that's a little bit better for me, but I'm like, let's deadlift, fuck it, just to see. So, and I was happy with everything except the fucking bench. Like if I had like the problem, my issue was failing twice on 305 and then on three. Like I was done. Like so I was like, all right, I know I can put up 285. Let's do 285 just so I've got a number there. And I was like, there was nothing left.
You say you didn't have a spot.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I feel like sometimes that helps, like just knowing that somebody's there, you know?
That might have helped. And one of the 305, so I had the safeties like right where I was at 90. And like one of them, like I clipped it.
Where your elbows are at 90.
Yeah. And like I clipped it on the way back. And it's like, I was like, I think I could have had it if I fucking clipped it.
Yeah. That is a fear that I have. Not on the that it dropping on me kind of thing, but like if I tap the safeties that like it would just I'd lose the whole lift, yeah. Like
Yeah, like I think I'm 90% sure I would have had it if I hadn't done that. I'm like, fuck.
that's yeah, I'm sorry, man. Yeah, I so that gets right to what we're talking about because we're talking about chest, right?
Boom.
So Matt's favorite lift is is bench press, right? So his favorite muscle group to work is chest. We've mentioned that on our previous episode, like our favorite muscle groups to work.
I always say chest and then like sometimes biceps, depends on how I'm feeling. I like my biceps grow regardless. Like I'm I guess gifted that way.
Hey, yeah, that's nice. The we'll get into it when we do the arms episode, but my like outer bicep head is always the one that's like lagging, like the terrible. Like of course, like the uh typical double bicep like
I see.
front side, the front side perfectly fine. But if you did it from the back, they'd be like, that guy has no arms. So,
Oh, you don't have a nice little peak and
I have the peak is there. It's just the round muscle belly volume look of it, not really there. Um, but that's a different episode that we're going to get into later. But speaking of chest things, I got 205 for 5. No spotter, didn't clip the spotter arms on my most recent, and I felt on my most recent like bench day, my upper body day that I did, and I felt like I could have had more reps on the thing. The goal was just 5 for the set, so I was like, all right, I could have probably done a couple more, which means that I'm hopefully getting close to the goal for the Quest for 900 is like 225 on the bench press. Because if I can get to 225 on the bench press, then I will be over 900.
See, I was trying to, because I had over 1,000 in the past. And so, like, my squat, because of lower body injuries, was a little less. My deadlift, because of lower body injuries, was a little less. So I think it was, yeah, I needed 300 on my bench to have 1,000. So I was like, 305, I've put up 3 before. And then, yeah, as we previously mentioned, like, come on. So I think I ended up 985 or something. Like, oh, come on.
Right. So when we're talking about chest exercises, though, this is one of the things I think about a lot because there's some myths and some mythos, but there's like anecdotal responses that could like dispel that. But insertion points versus not insertion points. Do you train for the insertion points or not?
Yeah, so like I train at different angles and yeah, and train for that reason. I train basically because I hate when you always hear like upper lower chest because it's very misleading. I think would be the best term there. Like it's the pectoralis major. It's technically one muscle, but training at the insertion. So I train a lot of incline and a lot of flat. I don't do a whole lot of like decline stuff anymore for that reason. So typically lot of incline stuff to train the quote upper chest, and then a lot of flat stuff to train the other insertion point.
Okay. Do you do a lot of pulley things? Or you just use the bar?
I do. I typically, if I'm constructing a program, say that I'm having a chest day, I'll usually do like one flat, like something, one incline something, whether that's dumbbell or barbell. Typically change that up every few weeks. If I'm, say, for instance, if I'm doing a flat barbell, I usually try to do an incline dumbbell, and then some sort of usually cable pulley stuff, and then some sort of machine something. So, for instance, like flat bench press, incline dumbbell press, uh, low cable crossover, pec deck machine. Boom.
Low low cable cross the cable would be at the low point, like close to like your lower
Yeah,
leg.
yeah, and that's just an example because I don't do those as often as I should. So that came to mind.
I will say, like when I started doing more, when I had access to like a functional trainer and things like that, and I started doing more low to high cable flies versus like a regular, like typical cable fly. I feel like a lot of people will go from upper to down and not from lower
Right.
up. Like so, um, I feel like when I started doing that, I had like dramatic.
And that's the reason it came to my mind too, is because like I think yeah, because ego lifting, it's you're going to lift a lot more coming, and it's easier coming from above or even parallel. So having to do it from up, yeah, you're not using as much, and you're using more of the quote upper chest. The one I've been doing a lot lately that I love, not cable, but dumbbell, because I'm not a huge fan, just personally, it's of dumbbell flies. I hate them for whatever reason. Like there's a mental block there. It's not that they're not good. I think they're a fantastic exercise, just like you typically do a machine or a cable. So with flies, I've started to where during the eccentric phase, so go back and listen to some other previous podcasts, I do the fly, and then on the way up, I'm doing a press. So that way I'm able to use a lot heavier weight on those flies and then able to press it back up because you're stronger on the eccentric phase. So I love those because it's again the ego comes into play. It's like, okay, I'm flying a much much heavier weight than I normally could.
Yeah, I was thinking about that for the future, for like my next thing after the Quest for 900. Like, what am I going to do after that? And I don't know what my schedule is going to look like necessarily. Like, mostly right now, I have a 3 day a week workout protocol that I'm able to equip and do things in. But I think I might try to do some more. What's it called? It's like I want to say it's the Banner protocol. but it's like so you use two hands for part of the lift and then like one hand for the next part of the lift.
Right.
So you can do a heavier weight on the concentric portion and then like let go and let your one arm do the.
Yeah, I've seen a lot of that with different landmine exercises. So like a landmine press of being able to go, yeah, boom, push up, and then build the eccentric down. So yeah, basically the same principle I'm doing with the flies. Absolutely.
That might be something to think about. I never thought about doing the press with a fly combo. There's an interesting uh, thing out there with I was looking at because I'm switching to dynamic effort, like I mentioned that earlier. So using bands on a bench press. So I'll be more specific about that in another time. But uh, the motion is like a 1.7 meters per second to 1 meter per second on the concentric phase, which is like that's fast. If for those of you that don't think about punching at like a 80% effort, right? So that speed, if you're punching forward, that's how fast that bench is supposed to be. And you don't ever want to do like really big weights with the bands because then you're not going to be able to move it as quickly. You know, you should, and it's only like 10 sets of 3 reps, but there's like 45 seconds rest between each one. Um, but the whole purpose of that is it's supposed to increase your ability to bench press. So increase
Yeah,
your
don't get me started on bands because I was about to start training the same way. I ordered a set of bands, and I was like, wait, this is just one set of each, so I need to reorder the same set. Cool, like whatever, reordered it. Apparently, it got swiped off my front door.
no.
So
Oh,
yeah, so
live in a
yeah,
nice
so
apartment. You
right. Well, because
know that place
they're
where
supposed.
something supposed to happen.
So what I think happened, they're supposed to deliver to the mailroom. They didn't. They dropped it off in front of the door, which I guess seems kind of nice because it's impressive they managed to get in. I think it got picked up as trash.
Oh, yeah, because it would just be like in a plastic bag, probably. Just
Yeah. So like, oh, come on. So like now I'm like, so I just killed my momentum and my like, I'm gonna start training with bands because I haven't done it in forever. It's like I'm gonna buy this. Yeah, oh, it was
uh,
like I felt bad enough. I was like, oh, I forgot I didn't buy matching sets. Like, how am I gonna bench with this? Like,
one band on one side and one other. That would be an interesting, dynamic. Like I don't know how that's going to work out for you, but yeah. So I got we had bands a long time ago, and I've always been a big fan of bands, especially for like exactly what we're talking about. Like if you want to, um, you can do either direction on a bench press. Like you could, I wouldn't necessarily say that you want to like pull a band down on you, but that would make it lighter going way up, right? So that could increase because technically you lose your back a little bit on a bench press. So having a nice strong back is going to help out with your bench press total. But specifically think about bands on like flies, like the varying, like if you did a dumbbell fly and it got more taut as you got up, even if you had like a 50, let's say, I don't know what you use. What do you use on flies? Like what's your most recent fly weight that you're using?
45s, I think. Yeah.
Right. So if you had like a 45 and you had like a band on there that's supposed to provide you 15 pounds of tension, by the time you get to the top, that's going to be 60. But when you get back to the bottom, it's going to be like back to 45. Right. So you're going to, if you did what you just mentioned with the press up and then fly down, that's going to make that press up a substantially harder
Absolutely.
press, but still give you the same effective weight down to where it's not going to torture your shoulder joint, right? So we're talking about insertion points at the beginning, insertion point, insertion point, right? Two separate points. Think about where your sternum is, that bottom point of your pec up to your shoulder, right? Those are insertion points for your pec major and even the pec minor, finding one up at the top.
We don't care about that one.
We do. That's how you like need like the big one to be big enough so that way it pushes up that tiny little muscle so it gives you a nice little like arc. That thing that I look back at pictures of myself, I'm like, I never got that. Like it never occurred for me. And it's probably because I didn't do enough load a high cable crossover.
So you can correct it now.
Yes, now I will correct it now that I'm 37. I'm no longer a professional wrestler. So, or am I? Is this all just a big ruse?
Uh-oh.
Come back.
One more match. One more match.
Somebody asked me that the other day. So are you doing this so you can go back to wrestling? It's like, no. I would, if I was doing workouts to get back into wrestling shape, they would not involve me trying to increase my total lift pound.
Like I love that I tell people now that I'm in a spot in my career in my life where I'm working out for me. It's not for wrestling. So it's nice to like that's my goal is just because I want to and I want to look the best and feel the best for myself, not because I'm going to a tryout, not because of how I'm going to look on a show, but it's for me, which is nice to have that intrinsic motivation.
Yeah. And so that's part of like we were talking about bench press earlier, but like if I was designing a program and somebody really just wanted like a bigger chest, I would include multi levels of flies and multi levels of bench movements.
Yep, just a lot of press and a lot of flying. Like that's it. Like
Yeah. And so there's
at
not like,
various angles.
there is this, I forget what it's called. It's Sven. I want to say it's called the Sven press, where you like hold a weight and you press it out away from you.
Yeah, so that one, so you can do that like on the Smith. You can grab a low cable row handle and do that. I love what I've heard it called a hex press because it was very hexagonal when you have to stick two dumbbells on your chest, clamp them together, press them out, and so that way you're contracting the pecs, squeezing together as you're pressing up. I love those. They're torturous.
So are you're laying on your back?
Yep.
Exactly.
Yep.
I see
Those
people
are torturous.
while they're standing, and so it's
Oh,
going to you.
I see people
That does
doing
not work.
every chest.
Yes,
Like you've got to know how gravity works. Well, it's the same thing. Who people are doing internal, external rotation for the rotator cuff with a dumbbell. Like lying on your side, awesome. Standing up, you're not doing shit. Like
so either way, like so that's our talk about chest. We're talking about chest. If what is your the people out there listening to this? So Matt loves the bench press. That's his favorite chest exercise. Mine is not. Like
yours is not a chest exercise. That's your favorite chest exercise.
Yeah, my favorite like chest exercise, it would have to be probably like a dumbbell press, like that. Holding onto the barbell while it's fun to try to push as much weight as I possibly can. It's not friendly to your wrist, your shoulder, and like I could probably more easily hurt myself with a barbell bench press versus a dumbbell bench press. And so,
oh, absolutely. It's so much easier to change the grip. So much easier to just let go if you go to failure. Like I've fallen in love again with incline dumbbell presses like over the last like 2 months because I've made myself train with them more, and I'm like, oh, this number's semi-impressive to myself. I'll take it.
yeah. So for those of you out there listening, though, what's your favorite chest exercise? And we'll see how this comes out. You know,
I bet it's bench press.
bench press. What's your PR? What's your best bench press? If you throw the bench press as your favorite, you gotta tell us how much it is that you're benching. All right. You just heard me earlier. Right now I'm only at 205 for 5. We'll see what happens when I get to the end. But either way, like we say every week. What do we say every week, Matt?
We say maximize every bite.
Maximize every rep.